There we go. It's that simple. Suddenly you're live on Facebook. I'm here today with Marie. I think people are now getting the theme of these live these live videos where I'm just introducing you all to some of the authors of The Power of Reinvention, which is coming out August 16th. And today I'm here with Marie.
Hi, good. Happy to be here.
So, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Okay, so I am someone who has spent more than 15 years in big companies and who has gone through a reinvention to actually find a way to be not just successful, but actually happy at work. And now I'm on a mission to try to help other people actually achieve that as well.
Because this is also what your chapter sort of centers around, right? That the experience of you that you had in your work and how that sort of inspired you to reinvent work life for yourself without giving too much away.
We're not giving everything away, but indeed, it's a very vulnerable story, which unfortunately I believe a lot of people may recognize themselves in. But at the back of that, it's also a general reflection about the conditions nowadays in the workplace. In a way, a lot of things have changed, and we are talking much more about mental health. We're talking much more about well-being. But on the other end, at the individual level, there is still a lot of very sad story. And I guess a sense of sort of isolation with respect to that. So we are all still very much in the superhero paradigm. When we deliver, we're strong, we take it in, we go back. And actually, the reality of how we experience it is very different as compared to the image we need to project. So one of the key, motivations for me is also to show to people that actually it's not all rosy cupcakes, rainbows at all, that many people go through a story that looks like mine, but we don't necessarily have the place to talk about this. And this is therefore an invitation for people to reach out and to come together because they're definitely not alone.
Was that also the motivation for you to join the project, to let people know, like, you're not alone in this? This is something that other people go through as well.
Absolutely. I felt very alone in that journey. I didn't have the very practical solutions of how to recover from a burnout. But afterwards, I didn't necessarily find the circle of people that I could open my heart to and, just bounce off ideas with each other, figure out a personal strategy. There is always this official strategy that you need to bring up to your boss. But where do you actually discuss the real life strategy, the one that is not just about pretending that you want a promotion or two in the coming 5 years, the one where you don't feel forced to say that you are internationally mobile and willing to take your husband and kids, partner and kids all around the world at the whim of the company. Where is the place where we can just be talking about success in something that's very much a life success rather than just work success?
Yes, exactly. And even I think discuss the definition of what success is, because that's different to everybody as well. That's absolutely true.
We were having this conversation with a colleague of mine offline, obviously, one of these politically incorrect conversations offline. And we were realizing that the role models that we are exposed to in the workplace tends to be people who made it to VP or what have you in terms of being up in the tree. And if you look at how they present their story, it's always very positive and very convincing. And, they've been for the 5 continents and they've had all of these exciting positions and they've recovered from whatever crisis or complicated situation. But what they never share is the toll that it takes on their families, for instance, to be living all over the place and having to move every 2 years and say goodbye to friends, having to change the hobbies for the kids, etc. Whenever someone high with a high position has to commute, for instance, and they're gone 5 days away from home, there's all sorts of things happening at home that they lose connection with, and that creates distance. And I know many of these people actually don't have a very good working relationship with their kids or with their wives, because they're just not there. There is this terrible story actually of partners who have to go through bad news like cancer or otherwise, and because of their work commitment, their partners cannot be with them as they go through all of these treatments, these medical appointments, and obviously the emotional toll on this. And that is the untold story of the workplace. And I know there is still a long way to go, and my actions are incredibly modest. But I want to start opening the door to being, human at work.
Yeah, it's so important. Actually, you're giving me goosebumps as you're talking about it, because I feel it's so important to start viewing people as people, and not just in workplaces, but also when we're in business for ourselves. I know that a lot of us, I have these conversations with other people who are entrepreneurs who, we have this tendency to hook our value into how productive we are, and rather than like, that's not like, I didn't start my own business to work 60 80 hours a week, right? That's also, it's not a sustainable situation. Also, just FYI, I'm not doing that anymore, but
good on you.
but it's all these sort of myths that we're being told about the hustle, and the hustle, I think, is something that's very much disconnected from us being human beings with things that are going on in our lives outside of work. I always used to say, if you want me to leave my personal stuff at home, then you need to supply me with emotional baggage lockers, and I will leave that stuff in there for 8 hours. But otherwise, your personal life is going to bleed into your work. It's not, we can't compartmentalize so far. So how
and that's
no, go on.
No, sorry, I just wanted to say that this element of emotions actually is one of the barriers that need to be broken. The joke, of course, is always that the emotions are not allowed in the office except for anger. And I think we've all experienced the boss that at some point is just losing a fuse and starts, saying things that shouldn't be said. And what's happening at the moment, and I think it should make us very hopeful, is that we see the beginning of a transformation. We see more and more leaders who are trying to create a space within their scope, within their teams, and actually try to have a very different atmosphere, creating a very different culture, allowing people to come as they are, with sometimes their emotional baggage or with whatever is happening in their lives, and accommodating it on a very tight-knit basis across the team. Where I think there is still a massive problem is in the hypocrisy that we see still at the company level, where a lot of things are being said, and unfortunately, it's not necessarily enforced. So people, companies, high senior leaders would be communicating around a great place to work, around things like inclusive diversity, around well-being at work. And these are amazing writings on the wall, but it doesn't necessarily, take place yet everywhere on the workplace.
Some of it just kind of stays in memos.
Yeah, or in websites.
Or in websites.
Because I think there is a lot of communication that's happening externally. There is a lot of activation about this externally, but as to real changes, just this morning on the topic of the environment, There is a very famous French bank, no need to say which one, but is currently displaying advertising on bus stops about how their material credit card is now made from recycled plastic, and they've removed the ink so that it's better for the environment. Now, that also happens to be one of the banks that is investing the most significantly in fossil fuel.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of that, unfortunately, in the corporate communication at the moment, where it's really up to each consumer actually to do its research and figure out how much what they say is actually brought to life.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that's I think how we vote, right, is through where we spend our money. But it can be tricky as well. There's so many layers to all of that. All of the sort of corporate responsibility stuff is sometimes we think of it as quite black and white, but it often is a lot more nuanced than that.
Oh, it's definitely levels of gray. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, how have you been experiencing? I know we're still working on your chapter. How have you been experiencing that so far? What's the journey been like for you?
Um, I guess I would describe it as I needed to write 300,000 words in order to get to the good 3,000. So it's been challenging on several levels. One, I'm definitely not a born writer, so it is definitely a skill which I've learned to respect and admire. And it was a challenge for me to learn, obviously. But on the personal level as well, it has forced me to revisit a part of my life which obviously was very special, with a lot of positive things, but also obviously some very raw emotions in there, and some very tough moments and decisions that needed to be made. So it was a disclosure of something that was very personal, but trying to make it in a way that wasn't about me bragging, obviously, but it was really about creating a resonance with people that may be at different stage of the journey, and hopefully for anybody who's feeling a little bit down right now, to give them maybe a little bit of a glimpse of hope and a light at the end of the tunnel, because it is very much possible to actually create a path of career where you choose for happiness.
Yeah, and it is a choice, right? To to choose happiness and to start sort of examining your life from that place of, okay, so what are the things that I need to change or do or adjust that will support me on that journey. Yeah. I look so much forward to I know that the new version of your second draft has just come through, so I look forward to having a look at it as well, because we say, like, the writing thing, it definitely is a skill, but I also always say, like, that's what editors are for, right? Like the real thing about writing that story is that emotional resonance, and really it can be a bit uncomfortable having to dig into stuff again, but uh, I'm contributing my own chapter as well to the book, so I know what you're saying, but it's also it's a nice sort of cleansing almost experience as well, because you're digging through it again as you're processing it at another little or a little deeper level again. So
Absolutely,
yeah,
and you're absolutely right to say that I would probably not have managed to do this on my own, and I'm incredibly grateful for the insights I got back from the team. Um, the the value, of course, is to be two brains on one draft instead of just one, and that is always incredibly rich, and it's encouraging you on the parts that are good that you may not be recognizing as such, and it's also helping you see your blind spots, obviously, and require clarity or require a different choice of word to be more in sync with also the tone of what you want to carry across. And it's been really a fantastic experience to write this book, because indeed it represents maybe the final closure of that chapter. To me, it has happened already a number of years ago, but a tipping point has. And I remember in our very initial conversation, Mags, we talked about how there's many years that bring you to that tipping point, but there's also many years that happen after that tipping point of reinvention. And I think maybe this chapter to me represents the final dot on that final line of that chapter of my life.
I love that you're saying that, and it's very interesting because you're not the only one of the authors that expressed it in that way as well. So I think that's definitely part of it, and in a fun way as well, like that sort of being able to achieve that closure on a personal level also gets us ready to kind of really step into that reinvented version of ourselves, right? It's that, okay, now this is it. And so it's the whole process it's a whole thing.
It is and very much what I intended to describe in my chapter is a little bit the perspective of experimentation. So I did not manage to find, a role model that matched with the career that I wanted to have. So I had to figure it out myself. And that's why I love the word reinvention. And that's why I resonated so much with this, because at some point I took a blank page and I invented something that I couldn't copy from anybody else. And I think I'm with indeed this period of time around the experimentation that now brings me to the point where I can say, yes, it really does work. Like I wasn't actually convinced it would, but now I can definitely tell you that if I've been able to do it, then definitely other people can do this.
Yeah, well, and what exactly you did, they will have to wait until the 16th.
They will have
buy
exactly.
A copy of the book.
Surprise.
I will, but I mean, if people are interested in buying a copy of the book, just leave a comment and we'll make sure that you get the link when it's available. And if you would like to see if writing a chapter in a co-authored book is for you and for your business, then just book in a call. I'll make sure that link is in the comments also, and we'll have a chat and see if it's the right choice and if we have the right title on the books, so to say. So thank you so much for your time today, Marie, and always lovely to see you.
Thank you for the opportunity on all sorts of levels, Mag.
Yeah, I'm so happy that everybody is getting to a point where I know that everybody had moments during the writing of their chapters where they were like, oh, I don't know, but I think we're all getting to the other side of that, and now we're all dealing with the what if. The simultaneous, what if no one reads it, and what if people read it, is also a bit of a journey for all of us, I think.
I think it's really exciting to have such a condensate of people's, most significant stories into one book. I'm myself very curious about the chapters of the other authors with me. Because I think we've all taken our most significant experience and we're trying to share it in a way that's making it very valuable for the readers. And I'm expecting it to be, a condensed version of, I don't know how many drama books or series or movies, whatever it is. But I really think that there's going to be so much insight, so much learning, so much richness of real lives being shared through this book, and I think it's going to be really, really valuable for the people that are going to read it. I'm sure anybody will recognize himself or herself somewhere in the book.
Absolutely, 100%. And that's the nice thing about it as well. Like that, you're saying exactly what it is. These are really significant moments in everybody's life. But they are also very different stories by very different people, and it's fascinating to kind of see both those differences, but also the common thread that goes through this idea of we all hit this moment where suddenly, like, we have to change.
The line in the sand.
Exactly. So it was such a joy to talk to you today. I'm gonna. We've been on this live stream for a good 20 minutes now. It always feels like 5, but somehow it ends up being 20 minutes.
It was great.
So,
thank you so much.
Thanks for being here with me today. Thank you.
Have a great day. Take care. Bye.